I've heard people say that moving to the countryside is supposed to be peaceful, a way to escape the chaos of the city. That's what I thought too, until I learned the truth. It wasn't the house that scared me. It wasn't even the woods. It was the feeling, the cold, unshakable feeling of being watched. And when I tell you what happened to me and my family, you'll understand why I can't sleep at night anymore. We found the house by accident. A cozy little place, surrounded by acres of forest, quiet, isolated, and exactly what we thought we needed. After years of noise and stress, it felt like the perfect escape. The first time I saw it, I remember standing in the driveway, staring up at the weathered shutters and the way the ivy curled around the front porch. It felt like it had been waiting for us. Clara, my wife, called it charming. Our daughter, Lily, was ecstatic about the yard, running around with her arms spread wide, like she was flying. But I'll never forget the way those woods looked. They were too still, too quiet. The trees stood like soldiers, their branches intertwining to form a dark canopy that seemed to watch you back. That first night, as we unpacked boxes and tried to settle in, I found myself glancing out the windows more than I should have. I don't know what I was expecting to see, but every time I looked, those woods were there, silent, waiting out on our second night. Something strange happened. I was sitting in the living room, flipping through an old book I'd found in one of the upstairs bedrooms. Clara had gone to bed early, and Lily was fast asleep. The house was quiet, save for the occasional creak of the floorboards. Then, out of nowhere, I heard it. Tap. It was soft at first, like the sound of fingers brushing against glass. I froze, my ears straining. It was coming from the large window in the living room. Slowly, I turned my head, my pulse quickening. At first, I didn't see anything. Just the reflection of the dimly lit room in the glass. But then, as I leaned closer, I saw it. A faint smudge, like the outline of a hand pressed against the outside of the window. My heart sank. I rushed to the door, flicking on the porch light, and stepping outside. The cold night air hit me like a slap, but the porch was empty. The woods stretched out in front of me, their shadows deep and uninviting. I stood there for a moment, my breath visible in the chill, before shaking it off and going back inside. It's nothing, I told myself. Just your imagination. The next morning, I went out to the porch to grab the newspaper, and stopped dead in my tracks. There, leading from the edge of the woods to the porch steps, were muddy footprints. They were large, unmistakably human, and stopped just shy of the door. My stomach twisted as I crouched down to inspect them. The mud was fresh, damp. I showed Clara as soon as she woke up. Look at this, I said, my voice tight. She frowned, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. Probably kids messing around. In the middle of the night? I countered. She didn't have an answer. That's when Lily called out from the backyard, her voice bright and carefree. Daddy, come look at this. I ran to where she was standing, my heart pounding. She was pointing at a tree near the edge of the woods. Carved into the bark were strange, jagged symbols. Circles, triangles, intersecting lines, that didn't make any sense. Did you do this? I asked her, my voice sharper than I intended. She shook her head, wide-eyed. No, Daddy. It was already there. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about the footprints, the tapping, the carvings. Something wasn't right, and I could feel it deep in my bones. As I locked the windows and double-checked the doors, I glanced out into the woods one last time. And that's when I saw it. A figure, standing just beyond the tree line. It was too dark to make out any details, but it was there, motionless, watching the house. My breath caught in my throat as I stared, waiting for it to move. But it didn't. It just stood there, a pale silhouette against the darkness. I grabbed my phone, fumbling to turn on the flashlight, and aimed it at the figure. But when the light hit the spot where it had been, there was nothing there. Just shadows. The figure by the woods haunted me. I couldn't focus, couldn't think. I needed answers. Clara, however, thought I was overreacting. You're just stressed, she said, brushing her hair behind her ear as she poured coffee. We've moved to a new place. It's natural to feel a little unsettled. But how could she explain the carvings? The footprints? The figure that vanished into thin air? I didn't press her, though. I just nodded and told her I'd take care of it. Inside, I was spiraling. Later that day, as I was organizing the basement, I noticed something odd, a section of the wall that sounded hollow when I tapped on it. Curiosity got the better of me, and I grabbed a crowbar, prying the wooden panel loose. Behind it was a hidden door, the wood warped and splintered with age. My heart raced as I opened it, revealing a narrow staircase that descended even further into the ground. A foul smell wafted up, making me gag. Clara, you need to see this. I called out. She hurried down the stairs, her expression turning to confusion as she saw the hidden doorway. What is this? She asked, her voice trembling. I don't know, I replied, my voice tight. But I'm going down there. Armed with my flashlight, I stepped into the darkness, the stairs creaking under my weight. Clara reluctantly followed. At the bottom, we found a small, windowless room. The walls were covered in more carvings, the same strange symbols we'd seen on the trees. In the center of the room was a small wooden table, and on it, a journal bound in cracked leather. I picked it up, my hands shaking, and flipped through the pages. They were filled with frantic, scrawled notes. The Watcher is real. It comes at night. Never leave the house unprotected. Clara grabbed my arm. We need to leave. Now. But as we turned to go back upstairs, we heard it. A low, guttural whisper. Mine, mine, mine. That night, the house felt alive. Every shadow seemed to shift, every sound amplified. I barely slept, clutching the journal like a lifeline. Around 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of Lily screaming. I bolted out of bed and ran to her room, my heart pounding. Clara was right behind me. When I flung the door open, I froze. Lily was sitting up in bed, her eyes wide with terror, pointing to the corner of the room. He's here, she whispered. I shone the flashlight into the corner, and for a moment, I saw it, a tall, gaunt figure with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. It was only there for a second before it melted into the shadows, leaving behind an icy chill. Clara grabbed Lily and held her close, her face pale. We can't stay here, she said, her voice shaking. We need to leave, now. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. The Watcher wasn't just in the house. It was in the woods, in the walls, it was everywhere. The next morning, we packed what we could and prepared to leave. As we loaded the car, I felt a heavy sense of dread, like the forest itself was watching us. As we pulled out of the driveway, I glanced in the rearview mirror. And there it was. The figure, standing at the edge of the woods, its hollow eyes locked onto us. It didn't move, didn't follow. It just watched as we drove away, its twisted smile burned into my memory. We never went back to that house. I tried to find more information about the property, but everything I found led to dead ends. No records, no history, nothing.
The Watcher, whatever it was, remains a mystery, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear it, and I wonder if leaving was enough, or if it followed us. What would you do if you felt the Watcher following you? Tell me your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more chilling tales that will leave you questioning the world around you. And remember, some things are better left unseen.